We're unable to make it. Mom's doing okay. My spouse is hosting a birthday bash, and we can't simply leave our visitors hanging. Those precise words came from Isaac to the physician, right after learning I was on the brink of death, actually fading away. My heart had stopped 3 times during the ride in the ambulance, yet my 42-year-old boy opted for Mela's finger foods instead of rushing to his mom's side. I'm stretched out here, connected to devices that force my heart to keep going, gazing up at the sterile ceiling in this chilly medical ward. It's 2:80 a.m., and utter solitude surrounds me. The cardiac monitor chirps unevenly, a stark signal that any pulse might be the final one. Meanwhile, my boys are just 30 meters off, clinking glasses with bubbly. The sharp odor of sanitizer blends with the bitter metal tang lingering on my tongue since emerging from urgent operation. My fingers shake whenever I attempt to shift them, and it's not merely the drugs. It's the fury surging inside me like lethal poison. "Mrs. Stone, do your best to relax," murmurs Fiona, the overnight caregiver. She's around the same age as my son's partners, yet her gaze carries a warmth absent from my kin in ages. The physician advised, "Right now, the key is for you to remain composed." Composed? How could I possibly stay composed after realizing that to my kids, I rank below some celebration? Dr. Miller laid it out clearly just 2 hours back about those phone exchanges. His statements still pound in my mind like relentless strikes. I made it crystal clear that this might be her final evening. The coronary event was severe, and they had to arrive right away. Benjamin's reply cut even deeper than his siblings. "Doc, she can hold on till morning. Diana planned it all weeks ahead, and everyone's already here. Mom's tough. She bounces back from anything every time. I've always bounced back from it all." That line rings in my skull like a tormenting refrain. I bounced back when their dad ditched us 25 years past, stranding me with a pair of adolescents and heaps of bills. I bounced back juggling 3 gigs to fund their elite university days, scrubbing offices before sunrise, serving plates in a greasy spoon by daylight, and stitching garments deep into the wee hours. My hands still show the marks from that needlework device. I bounced back selling off our home, that quaint lime-hued cottage with the yard where they played as kids, to cover Isaac's starter deposit on his place. "It's just for now, Mom," he'd promised. "I'll settle up in 2 years." That was 8 years back. I bounced back when I handed over my nest egg of $28,000, scraped together over decades, for Benjamin's venture that crashed and burned. "It's a solid bet, Mom. In 6 months, I'll return it all plus extra." The outfit collapsed in 3 months flat. I bounced back when Mela announced amid the full clan at our last Yuletide meal that my sage attire didn't suit the vibe, and I ought to choose outfits matching my years. I bounced back when Diana ruled my weekly roasts too laborious and suggested grabbing delivery instead. I bounced back as they slowly quit including me in get-togethers, claiming Grandma's habit of chiming in on every matter. Yet this crosses a line. This isn't regarding squandered cash or brushed-off jabs. This strikes at what I can't mend. The realization that at the critical juncture, with my existence dangling by a filament, they elected to linger at festivities. Dr. Miller shared it solemnly. "Mrs. Stone, you endured 3 cardiac stoppages en route. The EMTs revived you, but you were clinically gone for 4 minutes. It's a wonder you're conversing with me now." 4 minutes lifeless, and my offspring fretted over sparing Mela's rose-hued decor. The entrance to my chamber stays shut. 0 anxious rings in the 5 hours since I stirred. No pings from texts, only the steady hum of gear sustaining me and the lingering sting of their dismissal. "We're unable. My wife's putting on a soiree." Fiona monitors my stats hourly. "Your BP's a tad elevated," she notes with real empathy. "Is something on your mind that's got you on edge?" If only she grasped I was dwelling on 66 years of boundless devotion discarded for a pastry and festive orbs. Right now, peering at the urban glow via the clinic pane, a piece within me shatters for good. And it isn't my ticker. It's far more profound. It's the final shred of faith I clung to that perhaps, in some way, I still held value to a soul in this realm. Come morning, they'll ring, bound to arrive bearing bargain bin blooms from the corner store and polished alibis. They'll claim the urgency escaped them, figuring it was yet another of my overreactions, akin to that wrist break last year where it took 3 days for a visit. But the moments passed. This evening they've revealed my spot on their ranking, and it's rock bottom. I shut my lids and drift to 40 years prior. Isaac was 2 I was 25 years old back then, and Benjamin had only just arrived in the world. Our home was that modest 2-bedroom place in the lakeside area, where the walls were paper thin. I swear I could hear the folks next door breathing. My husband Robert, at the time, slaved away at the textile mill while I handled everything at home with the kids. I can still recall the faint scent of talcum powder and their infectious laughter as I washed them in that beat-up plastic basin we'd picked up cheap. Isaac was the one who stuck to me like glue. "Mommy, Mommy!" he'd chant endlessly, toddling after me on those pudgy legs through every room. Benjamin preferred doing his own thing, but whenever illness hit him, he'd turn into my constant companion, begging for the soothing tune my own mom had passed down to me. I'd remind myself it was all for my boys as I stitched outfits late into the night, until 3 a.m., to hawk at the weekend market. Any spare cash flowed straight into their world, fresh sneakers as they outgrew the old ones, notebooks and pencils for school, Isaac's after-school soccer sessions, Benjamin's guitar practice. I'd stuck with the same faded gray frock for 2 full years, but my kids, they always looked sharp as a tack. The initial hint that things were shifting hit when Isaac hit 25. He'd crossed paths with Mela through work, a sharp-minded lady with a flawless grin and nails that gleamed like new. On her debut visit for supper, she scanned our place like an inspector eyeing a rundown shack. "Cecilia," she told me, her smile not quite touching her gaze. "Wouldn't it make more sense for Isaac and me to host Christmas at my spot this time? Our family's got these long-standing customs, you see, and my mom has her routines all set." That holiday marked the first time in 25 years I'd dined solo. The turkey I'd splurged on sat forgotten in the fridge for days. When I quizzed Isaac about their meal, he shot back, "It was fantastic, Mom. Mela's home is unreal, like something from a glossy spread, with a formal eating area straight out of a dream. And the dishes. Her mom's got real talent in the kitchen," as though my 3 decades of whipping up meals for him counted for zilch. Benjamin took a similar route just 2 years down the line. Diana varied from Mela, her tactics smoother and sneakier. She never shut me out outright. Instead, she'd drop these tiny remarks that piled up like drips turning into a pool of doubt. "Cecilia, that red top of yours is charming," she'd remark with a patronizing curve of her lips. "So retro, right? I keep nudging Benjamin that gals like us ought to refresh our closets every so often." Or after I'd slaved over my signature lasagna, the dish I'd honed for years. "It's tasty, Mom-in-law, though a touch rich for my stomach." I lean toward fresher, trendier eats these days. Benjamin's come around to my way of prepping food. Calls to join their family meals started thinning out. At first it was, "Diana's under the weather and wants a cozy night." Next, "The little ones have tons of assignments and require calm." Eventually, the invites dried up completely. My neighbor Linda, who'd been around forever, laid it out plain over afternoon brews one day. "Cecilia, honey, those wives of yours are easing you out of your boy's picture. It's the classic tale. I've watched it play out endlessly." But I pushed back. "They're decent women, Linda. They just require a bit to settle into our clan." "Settle in. It's been 5 years of marriage, Cecilia. They've settled all right. They've molded you into the backup grandma who pops by for crises and slips away unnoticed." Her words rang true, even if swallowing them stung. I'd begun sensing like an outsider in my own kids' orbits. Our chats on the phone turned rote. "Hey, Mom, you okay?" "Fine, and you?" "Same here. Catch you soon, we're swamped." The toughest punch landed 2 years back when I offloaded my house to bail out Isaac. Mela had spotted her ideal pad in a ritzy enclave, but they were short $100,000 for the initial chunk. "Mom," Isaac pleaded in that same earnest tone from his kid days when he craved a toy, "I get it's a big request, but this is our shot. Prime real estate. In 5 years, it'll double in value." So I let go of my cozy bungalow, the spot where I'd nurtured my sons, with their growth scratches etched on the frame and memories of wobbly first strides. I relocated to a tiny flat in a no-elevator high-rise, but hey, they scored their fantasy home. My initial drop-in at their shiny new digs, Mela met me at the entrance with a forced grin. "Cecilia, this is unexpected. A heads up would have been smart. We've got company coming for eats." She left me hovering on the stoop of the very place my funds had secured, like some door-to-door hawker who'd timed it wrong. "I only swung by to drop this off," I explained, passing over a homemade chocolate cake baked just for them. "Isaac's adored it since he was little." "That's sweet," she replied, "but we're on a health kick now. After his cholesterol episode, Isaac's watching what he eats closely." She clutched it like it might infect her. That evening, tears soaked my pillow. My boy was dealing with cholesterol issues, and I discovered it accidentally during a chat right outside the home I'd assisted in purchasing. Things unfolded differently with Benjamin, yet the hurt cut just as deep. He'd always been straightforward, far less tactful than his sibling. Once his import venture for electronics hit rough waters, he didn't mince words. "Mom, I require $8,000. It's crucial to keep the operation afloat. Without it this week, I'll shut down and drown in debt for years." That sum represented my entire nest egg. Every bit I'd scrimped together from early morning shifts, every penny tucked away from my retirement checks over a decade. Still, he was my boy, the little one I'd cradled through endless, feverish nights. "I'll loan it to you, son, but please sign this IOU. It's not about doubt, just to keep records straight." Diana was furious. "An IOU? Come on, Cecilia. You're actually going to slap interest on your own child. What mother pulls that?" Ultimately, I handed over the cash without any paperwork. "He's family," I reasoned inwardly. "He understands its value to you." The enterprise crumbled in just 3 months. Those $8,000 evaporated, taking with them a lifetime of hardships and hopes for a secure retirement. Benjamin shrugged it off. "Mom, you get how these ventures go. Wins and losses happen. At least I gave it a shot." As though my funds were mere gambling tokens, not the fruits of long, grueling labor. Lying here, hooked to these beeping devices in this sterile ward, I realize now that every such episode built toward this evening, this moment when the facade shattered, revealing the harsh reality to my kids. I'm expendable. The discomfort began 3 days earlier, amid Sunday dinner at Isaac's place. It marked my 66th birthday, though it slipped everyone's mind. Mela had whipped up a simple greens mix and broiled poultry, a far cry from the lavish bashes I'd thrown for them in their youth. "Mom, you seem worn out," Benjamin remarked, barely glancing up from his screen as he toyed with his meal, getting decent rest. Truth be told, sleep had eluded me for weeks. An odd squeeze in my torso jolted me awake nightly at 3 a.m., like an invisible weight pressing on my chest, but I hated burdening them. I refused to let them dismiss it as yet another of my so-called overreactions, like they'd begun labeling my complaints. "I'm okay, sweetheart. Just some indigestion after dark." Mela chuckled sharply. "Well, at our stage in life, digestion isn't what it used to be, Cecilia. I keep urging my own mother to go easier. Less seasoning, lower grease. A body at 66 doesn't bounce back like it did at 30. Later that day, as I prepared to head out, Diana showed up bearing tidings that shattered me, oblivious to the impact. "You'll never guess. We've locked in a slot for my bash. Wednesday at the Grand Plaza Hotel Ballroom. I've orchestrated it for ages." Wednesday. My real birthday fell on Sunday, yet not a word about it. Come Wednesday, they'd fet Diana with every extravagance imaginable. It's shaping up to be spectacular, she gushed on. Book the top caterers around. Expect live tunes, fancy motifs, and more than 50 RSVPs already. Benjamin surprised her with this stunning gold gown that ran wowing $200. $200 on one outfit, more than my wardrobe budget for 2 full years. I stayed quiet, that chest tightness ramping up as I observed my son beaming with pride over blowing in a single evening what sustains me half a year. "Mom, of course you're welcome," Benjamin added, his voice carrying a hint of obligatory politeness rather than genuine warmth. "Though you realize it'll be quite the upscale event. Diana's got key colleagues from her job attending." The implication rang loud. Show up but blend in, no scenes. The following evening, Tuesday, right before Diana's grand affair, the squeeze in my chest turned excruciating. My left arm throbbed, waves of queasiness bent me double in the sheets. I dialed Isaac at 11 p.m. "Mom, everything all right? We're in the middle of a flick." "Son, I'm not well. This persistent ache in my chest just won't quit." "Grabbed any meds? Herbal tea, perhaps? Could be nerves. You've seemed wound up with all the party prep. We'll swing by tomorrow once it's wrapped." I ended the call, loneliness crashing over me harder than before. Even my suffering had to defer to my daughter-in-law's festivities. Sleep evaded me entirely that night. The agony radiated to my jaw, neck, and spine like a massive rubber strap cinching my midsection. By 5 p.m., I reached out to Linda. "Oh, Cecilia, that sounds serious," she replied after I listed my woes. "I'm heading there now to rush you to the ER." "No, Linda, not today. It's Wednesday, Diana's big night. I can't spoil it." "Spoil what? You're outlining classic cardiac warning signs. Is some gathering worth more than your health?" As it happened, yes. For my offspring, evidently, a soiree outweighed my very existence. Linda pulled up at my place. I woke at 6 a.m. to discover Cecilia perched on the bedside, drenched in cold sweat and struggling for breath. "We're heading to the hospital immediately," she declared with the unyielding resolve only loyal companions possess. During the cab ride there, the agony escalated until it became intolerable, like a blade stabbing deep into my chest's core and turning gradually. I gripped Linda's hand desperately. "Hold on, Cecilia, just a bit further." Chaos unfolded swiftly in the ER. The ECG revealed alarming heart rhythm disruptions. My pressure was sky high, and the enzyme tests in my blood verified the physician's fears. A severe cardiac episode was underway. "Surgery now," Dr. Miller instructed while readying the stretcher for the procedure. "Anyone we should contact, immediate relatives." Through a haze of torment and drugs, I rasped out my kids' contact info, urged them to rush over right away. Linda clasped my hand right up until they wheeled me into the OR. "I'll wait here until you're through. Sweetheart, you've got support." Yet isolation enveloped me. As the sedative took hold, my final thought drifted to my offspring, prepping for festivities as I battled for survival. 6 hours on, I stirred to Fiona monitoring my vitals, with Linda dozing in the nearby seat. No sign of my children. "Have the kids reached out?" That was my initial query. Fiona's face betrayed the response before she spoke. The doc updated them mid-operation. 3 heart stoppages, dire straits, must come at once. My fragile organ constricted further. Their reaction. Fiona paused, reluctant to deliver the blow of disloyalty. Still, I craved the full, harsh reality. "Your elder boy mentioned a crucial event. Couldn't ditch the attendees. Noted your resilience. Figured you'd pull through." Sobs streamed down my face without restraint. Beyond the surgical discomfort, this was the sting of realizing Diana's bash, with its $200 gilded gown and fancy bites, outweighed decades of nurturing them. "Your younger one," Fiona added gently, inquired about visiting post-gala in the AM. Linda roused at my sobs and hurried to my side. "Darling, what's wrong? In pain?" "All of me aches, Linda." It kills to have poured my existence into offspring who value a soiree over their mom's odds of lasting the evening. There, gazing at the sterile ceiling at 3 a.m., as my young ones clinked glasses with bubbly just 30 miles off, I resolved on a shift that would alter my world irrevocably. The ensuing 3 days spun into an emotional whirlwind I'd never imagined enduring. Each ticking minute sans a ring from the kids pierced my shattered spirit anew. Fiona began dodging my eyes whenever I probed about inquiries. Thursday dawn, a full day post-Diana's affair, the room line buzzed at last. My pulse surged, triggering the monitor's frantic alerts. Isaac's voice, "Mom, you all right? We only just learned you're admitted. Why keep it from us?" Fury boiled within. Post calls from the medics, repeated urgings, and he dares question my silence. "Isaac," I replied in a tone alien to me. "They phoned you Wednesday, said I was fading fast, demanded your presence pronto." A heavy quiet hung on the line. "Right, that. Diana's gathering was huge. Guests traveled distances. Bailing wasn't feasible. Plus, you've been tough as nails, Mom. Assumed it'd hold off briefly." Briefly. My existence on hold. "Mom, ease up. You're stable, yeah. Op went well, per the doc. Anyway, we'll swing by Sunday post-meal. Sound good? Sunday, 3 days hence." My initial collapse could bide time till brunch ended. I disconnected abruptly. Fiona, feigning med-tidying for my sake, drew near with concern etched on her features. "Mrs. Stone, your readings just spiked dangerously. You good?" "No, Fiona, far from it, and I doubt recovery's in the cards." That evening, Benjamin showed, but with company. Diana tagged along, glowing from her triumph. Gold hoops dangled, echoing her gala attire, her cosmetics flawless. Me, strands limp with oil, gown marred by spills, lines snaking from my form, from my embrace. "Mother-in-law, how are you doing? You really frightened us," Diana remarked, her smile failing to light up her gaze. "Benjamin filled me in on the incident. Such terrible timing, happening right on my party day, huh? Pure misfortune." As though my cardiac episode had been some deliberate disruption aimed at spoiling her event. The gathering was spectacular. "Mom," Benjamin shared as he perched in the seat farthest from my bedside. The setups were stunning. Diana truly surpassed expectations. More than 60 guests showed up, among them Diana's superior and a handful of key associates from my job. He chattered on about the affair even as I'd been battling for survival. He described the setups and the valuable connections they'd forged. "How are you holding up?" Diana inquired, her voice implying she anticipated a brief, upbeat reply. "You appear far healthier than we'd imagined. Modern physicians perform wonders, don't they?" The physician mentioned, "I suffered 3 cardiac stops," I informed them, watching their responses closely. I was essentially deceased for 4 minutes from a clinical standpoint. Benjamin fidgeted in his seat. "Anyway, that's behind us now, Mom. What counts is you're breathing and on the mend." "What counts?" I echoed inwardly, sensing a solidity form within me like hardened stone. While I was perishing, you'd been savoring hors d'oeuvres and joking with attendees. Diana's brow furrowed. "Cecilia, it's unjust to make us feel ashamed. We had no clue it was so grave. Plus, what could we accomplish at the clinic? We're no medical experts. It made more sense for us to contribute where we could. Coordinating the event that had demanded such investment and labor. Contribute. Hosting a celebration proved more valuable than staying by their ailing mother-in-law's side." "Listen, Mom," Benjamin cut in. "Diana and I discussed it, and we've resolved to assist you further. We could drop in weekly, perhaps Sundays post-meal. And for any pressing needs, just ring us, provided it's outside business time or our major obligations. Weekly after meals, barring significant duties." It was then, gazing at my younger boy address me like an obligation to slot into his schedule, that a profound fracture occurred deep within. Not my heart this round. It was far more profound. The final trace of optimism I'd clung to, that perhaps buried deep, lingered some remnant of the affection I'd nurtured in them over the years. You know something. I addressed them in a remarkably steady tone. You're correct. No need for guilt. They both eased visibly, assuming I'd grasped their perspective. No guilt warranted, I pressed on. Since guilt requires a sense of morality, and yours evidently vanished ages ago. Diana's face shifted abruptly. Cecilia, no call for rudeness. We're here to back you despite our packed schedules. To back me. I chuckled, though devoid of any mirth. You'd arrived to tick the barest obligatory box so you could claim you'd checked on your ill mother, so you could rest easy, assured you'd completed your daily act of kindness. Benjamin rose, evidently irritated. Mom, this is unfair. We already outlined why we couldn't arrive sooner. Diana's event mattered greatly for our prospects. We can't halt everything whenever your health acts up. Whenever my health acts up, like heart failures were routine sniffles I faked for notice. You're spot on, son, I replied, a peculiar serenity enveloping me. You can't pause your world, and I'll never request it henceforth. Diana beamed, believing victory hers. I'm relieved you see it, mother-in-law. Setting clear limits in family ties is vital. Clear limits, a novel phrasing for relational neglect. They lingered another 10 minutes, mostly conversing between themselves on weekend schemes, an upcoming getaway next month, a fresh carpet Diana eyed for the den. I remained a quiet observer of their thriving, hectic existence. Upon their eventual departure, with hazy vows to revisit shortly, solitude returned alongside Fiona and the burden of an insight reshaping me utterly. Mrs. Stone, Fiona addressed while adjusting my drip, you don't seem well to me. Shall I summon another relative? Any siblings or dear companions? Linda's who I have, I responded. And evidently that's surpassing what I shared with my offspring. That evening, amid the hospital's ambient noises and the sharp ache in my mended torso, I started devising a step I'd never envisioned necessitating, a conclusive one, to reveal the real price of their choices. That evening, slumber evaded me. Beyond the bodily torment still stabbing my chest like blades, a sharp mental focus emerged, absent for years. For the initial time in decades, I viewed my existence unclouded by the veil, embodying boundless maternal affection. I was finally perceiving the world as it truly existed, rather than how I had once wished it to be. Propping myself up in the hospital bed, I requested some paper and a pen from Fiona, planning to compose some correspondence, Mrs. Stone. She inquired with that gentle warmth I had grown to cherish even beyond the infrequent check-ins from my own offspring. Along those lines, I responded. I simply must organize my reflections. As soon as I started jotting down notes, the phrases poured forth like they had been pent up for decades. This went beyond mere correspondence. It turned into a thorough reckoning of my existence, an heartfelt ledger I had always lacked the bravery to confront. To Isaac and Benjamin, I penned with a shaky grip. Over 66 years, my entire life revolved around you both. Each choice I took, each hardship I endured, each aspiration I set aside, centered on ensuring your welfare and joy. Now, reclining here in this medical bed following a clinical death lasting 4 minutes, I've come to realize that not one day passed where you considered my own. Droplets of sorrow splashed onto the page, blurring certain letters, yet I pressed on. I had accumulated 66 years' worth of sentiments to express. When your father left us, I was 35, with you at 18 and 10 apiece. I remained youthful. I possessed appeal. There were admirers eager to build a household alongside me. Yet I opted to remain solitary, pouring all my energy into raising you. I refused to allow any gentleman to make you sense like an encumbrance or an obstacle. I forfeited the chance for companionship, additional offspring, a vibrant romantic existence, because you stood as my utmost focus. I recalled Mr. Douglas, the widowed neighbor from over the road who, for many years, delivered blooms to me each Friday. He proved a decent, diligent fellow who pursued me with the steadfastness of one who grasps the essence of meaningful pursuits. Still, I invariably explained that romance was beyond my thoughts, as my boys required my full attention. 5 years on, he wed someone else, while I persisted in solitude, nurturing you alone. For 8 years, I juggled 3 employments to fund your attendance at private university. My writing persisted. From 4 to 7 a.m., I tended to office cleaning. Afternoons from 8 to 4 saw me at the eatery, and evenings from 6 till midnight involved mending garments. I managed just 3 hours of rest daily, Monday through Saturday. Sundays belonged wholly to you. I'd launder your attire, prepare your preferred dishes, assist with your studies, escort you to the playground. A dull throb began in my hands, but I had to document it all. Committing it to the page seemed to grant tangible substance to those decades of quiet devotion. Isaac, upon your union with Mela, I parted with my home to assist your initial mortgage payment. That verdant residence of your youth, where you first toddled, where we shared our most cherished holiday seasons. I relinquished it without a second thought since you viewed it as your path to an improved existence. I relocated to a compact one-room flat on the 4th level, sans elevator, but you secured your ideal abode. Pausing briefly, I dabbed at my streaming eyes. Fiona drew near, worry etching her features. Everything all right, Mrs. Stone. Your pressure's climbing once more. I'm okay, dear. Truly, for the first time in ages, I'm utterly at peace. I resume the missive. Benjamin, amid your venture's struggles, I advanced you my accumulated nest egg, $28,000, amassed painstakingly over 10 years through weekend labors up to age 70, vending meals at my residence's entrance, scrimping every bit from my retirement funds. It represented my safeguard against frailty, my reassurance to fall ill without imposing on others. But your need was urgent, so I handed it over readily. The bitter truth struck like a blow. I had surrendered my monetary stability to avoid seeming burdensome, only to find myself perceived precisely that way now. Yet none of that weighs on me anymore, I inscribed, sensing liberation with every syllable. The true devastation wasn't the monetary forfeits. It was the revelation that on Wednesday, while I battled for survival beneath the surgeon's knife, you were raising glasses of bubbly at a celebration. Shutting my lids, I permitted the sting of that mortification to wash over me anew. It proved essential to absorb the depth of such disloyalty before proceeding as required. At 2 p.m., the physicians contacted you to convey that my heart had faltered, that I'd endured several arrests, that the outlook hung in dire balance. They explicitly stated this might mark your mother's final evening, and your retort. You couldn't attend on account of a gathering, a birthday affair featuring canapes and a band, outweighing the existence of she who bore you. The ink swam amid my weeping, but I forged ahead. Completion had to come today. I'd grasped a truth long overdue. You hold no affection for me. Perhaps fondness lingered in your youth when dependence bound us, but it dissipated upon your self-sufficiency. These days, I amount to little more than a tedious duty, a figure for sporadic acknowledgement to maintain the facade. My fingers shook while I penned the following words, fully aware that committing them to the page meant there was no way out. That's exactly why I've resolved on a choice that will transform our existence irrevocably. I refuse to go on existing as a parent, scraping for scraps of regard from offspring who view me as an irritant. I won't keep up the act that dutiful check-ins and polite phone chats satisfy me anymore. I won't settle for my existence being worth less than a social gathering, a meal out with pals, or a hectic getaway. I stopped for a moment to steady my breathing. My pulse raced, yet what surged through me wasn't terror. It was release. By the time you lay eyes on this note, I'll have vanished from your world for good. Don't bother searching. You won't track me down. I've chosen to begin anew somewhere anonymous to my past, where I can just exist as Cecilia, free from the label of the forsaken parent who devoted everything to thankless kids. Fiona drew near once more. Mrs. Stone, it's 4 a.m. already. Time to get some shut-eye. Nearly finished, sweetie. Only a bit more to go. This choice stems not from resentment, but from cherishing myself. The devotion I poured into you for so long, I'll now direct inward at last. I merit companions who cherish my company, who prioritize my happiness, who opt for my presence rather than endure it. As I neared the close, every phrase drew me nearer to the independence I'd been craving without realizing it. Don't anticipate my return. Don't hope for mending fences. This marks my final farewell. Enjoy your packed schedules, your grand events, and your evident choices. I'll find my joy elsewhere, distant from you all. I inscribed my complete name, Cecilia Rosewood, your parent. No longer after this. I folded the note neatly and slipped it into the drawer of the bedside table. Come morning, I'd pass it to Linda with clear directives on its timing. For the first time in days, sleep claimed me without tears. Friday dawned and I stirred with an odd sensation coursing through me. Not the bodily ache I'd borne since the cardiac episode. Something else entirely. A blend of anxiety and thrill I hadn't known in ages. It felt like seizing the reins of my destiny, perhaps for the initial time in ages. Linda showed up promptly, as she'd done daily since the procedure. She carried a flask of fresh brewed coffee and that comforting grin that assured me some folks still truly valued me. Morning, love. Slept well. You seem altered this morning, calmer somehow. Linda, I require your assistance with something crucial, likely the biggest request in our years of camaraderie. She settled into the seat beside my bed, her face grave. Whatever it is, spill it, Cecilia. You know I'm here for you, no matter what. I passed her the envelope from my sleepless vigil. Deliver this to my boys, but hold off, not until Sunday afternoon after they swing by. Linda accepted it gingerly, sensing its weight in more ways than one. What's inside, friend? My liberty, I replied, flashing a grin that caught even me off guard. And there's one more thing I need your aid with. Help me vanish. Alarm flickered in Linda's gaze right away. Cecilia, what do you mean? Are you considering self-harm? If that's it, absolutely not. No, I cut in, clasping her hand firmly. Suicide's not on my mind, Linda. Rebirth is. A fresh start, distant from this place, away from kids who overlook my worth, away from this town where every street corner echoes my sacrifices and the scant reciprocity. I laid out the full scheme. Over the recent stretch, I'd mapped every aspect, as though my thoughts had long awaited this blueprint for escape. I've stashed cash in a private account my children know nothing of, I shared. Not a fortune, but sufficient to launch ahead. It's $8,000, scraped from my retirement checks over the past 3 years, since Benjamin squandered my funds in his doomed venture. It's held at the National Bank, under my name alone. Linda absorbed it all, torn between awe and worry. But where to, Cecilia? Kin elsewhere. My cousin Hope resides in Dallas. We haven't connected in 5 years, yet I recall her solitary life in the spacious home left by her spouse. I'll reach out. I'm certain she'd shelter me temporarily till I stand on my own. It rang true. Hope had always stood apart in our kin. A self-reliant soul, unmarried and childless, she'd often praised my resilience. In our sparse calls, she'd suggested her doors stood ajar if I ever craved a shift in surroundings. The strategy's straightforward, I went on, detailing it for Linda. Sunday brings their final glimpse of me. Once they've departed, Yuichi, help me escape this hospital. I'm not checking out properly, just slipping away. I'll drop the note on my bed and vanish. As for your stuff in the apartment, I've already chatted with Fiona on that front. Her sister's an attorney, and she'll set up a power of attorney so you can manage it all. Feel free to sell off my furniture, grab anything that catches your eye, and apply the proceeds to cover the remaining rent until the lease expires. That place was never my favorite anyway, cramped and depressing. Linda stayed quiet for what seemed like forever, absorbing my words. Cecilia, are you absolutely certain? This is a massive step. Leaving like that will make returning incredibly tough. I have no intention of coming back, Linda. That's the whole point. I want my kids to grasp the pain of being deserted by your own kin. I want them to experience the agony of hunting for a loved one and turning up empty-handed. I want them to carry the weight of remorse for prioritizing a celebration over their mom's survival. The thoughts poured from me with a sharpness and resolve that caught even me off guard. It felt like I'd been building up resolve over all these years, just for this instant. Plus, I went on, I'm 66 now, Linda. If I make it to 80, that's 14 years ahead. Am I going to squander them pleading for scraps of interest from kids who treat me like a chore? Or will I spend them exploring fresh spots, building new connections, perhaps even discovering the romance I always denied myself? For the first time as I laid out my scheme, Linda cracked a smile. You're spot on, dear. You deserve every bit of joy out there, and if they can't provide it, you'll have to seek it elsewhere. Precisely. And there's one more thing I need you to vow, Linda. When my children show up at your door after spotting the letter, when they plead for clues about my whereabouts, you must swear you have no idea, because you truly won't. I won't share my precise spot in Dallas until I've fully unpacked and decided I don't want them tracking me down. Linda gave a firm nod. I promise, Cecilia. But please keep me in the loop about your situation. Give me a ring weekly so I can be sure you're okay and thriving. Absolutely. You're my true family, Linda. The sibling I never had, the sole one who genuinely looks out for me. The rest of the morning flew by as we hashed out the specifics. Linda would reach out to Fiona's sister for the paperwork. I'd phone my cousin Hope using the hospital line to fill her in. I also had to pull out my $8,000 from the bank and turn it into cash for the journey. You realize what's the most heartbreaking part of this whole mess, I remarked to Linda while we wrapped up the final bits. That I'm buzzing with more thrill for this fresh start than for any moment in the past decade. I feel like a kid scheming to bolt from home. But rather than fleeing overbearing parents, I'm ditching thankless offspring. It's not heartbreaking, dear. It's freeing. You've devoted your whole grown-up existence to everyone else. Now it's your turn to focus on you. That afternoon, I dialed Hope from the hospital phone. She sounded startled but warmly pleased to hear my voice. Cecilia, what a pleasant shock. How have you been, cousin? Hope, I've got something crucial to share. I'm facing a rough patch with my kids, and I need to overhaul my life completely. Does that old offer to stay with you in Dallas still stand? She didn't pause. Absolutely, cousin. The place is way too spacious for just me, and I'd adore some companionship. What's wrong? Are the kids all right? My kids are doing just great, I shot back, unable to mask the resentment. Great enough that they don't require their mother at all. I'll fill you in once I'm there, but I have to get out of here pronto. Head over anytime, Cecilia. I've got a room ready for you for however long it takes. As I set down the receiver, it was like I'd just secured my pass to independence. Sunday rolled around quicker than anticipated. I stirred at 6 a.m., my gut twisting with a blend of nerves and eagerness. It marked my final day as Isaac and Benjamin's mom. Come morning, I'd be plain old Cecilia, a liberated soul embarking on a fresh chapter. Fiona picked up on my jitters while monitoring my vitals. You seem awfully wound up today, Mrs. Stone. Something bothering you. Quite the opposite, sweetie. I'm thrilled. This is the end of a chapter that's outlived its purpose. Through the morning, I ran through my preparations in my head. Linda had fetched my $8,000 from the bank the previous Friday and stashed it safely at her place. Fiona's sister had drawn up the power of attorney empowering Linda to oversee my matters. My cousin Hope awaited me in Dallas with welcoming embrace. All systems go. Isaac and Benjamin showed up right on at 2 p.m., right on schedule as they'd assured me. Naturally, after their midday meal, Diana showed up beside Benjamin, clad in a fresh coral gown that likely ran more than my entire grocery budget for 2 full months. Mela showed up 15 minutes behind, offering excuses for wrapping up a crucial business discussion. "Mom, you're appearing way healthier," Isaac remarked as he claimed the seat farthest from my bedside. "The physician mentioned you might head home later this week." "Indeed," Mela chimed in. We kept insisting it couldn't be as grave as the medical team claimed. You've always been incredibly resilient, so tough, like my toughness justified their neglect. So, what arrangements are you considering once you're out of here? Diana inquired, flashing that phony grin she'd mastered. I trust you realize that given our demanding routines, it'll be tough for us to drop by frequently, though we could ring you over the weekends. Reach out on weekends, assuming they lacked weightier obligations, naturally. Actually, Benjamin noted, Diana and I chatted about it, and we figured you ought to ponder relocating to one of those assisted living spots. You know, the kind with round-the-clock caregivers and events to occupy your time. An assisted living home. They aim to ship me off to one after ditching me amid my cardiac crisis. Some of them are quite pleasant, Diana pressed on, warming to the notion. We toured a place over the weekend to scope it out. It's spotless. Meals seem acceptable, and the price isn't outrageous. Around $2,000 monthly, but paired with your retirement funds and a modest input from us, it'd work out perfectly. $2,000 per month, the exact sum Diana's outfit demanded for her celebration. Most importantly, Isaac pointed out, you'd be among folks your own age. You might form connections, enjoy games like cards, join in on programs, far superior to rattling around solo in that flat where help's out of reach if trouble strikes. I stayed quiet, observing my two boys mapping out my existence like some operational puzzle demanding resolution. They skipped seeking my preferences. They were merely announcing their verdict on my behalf. Moreover, Mela went on, it'd prove more secure overall. Should another health scare hit, the on-site team could manage it without pulling us from our careers or key appointments. There it was, the brutal reality. They sought to guarantee that my next brush with death wouldn't disrupt their vital pursuits. And precisely when had you intended to roll out this scheme? I questioned them, my composure startling even myself. Oh, no rush, Benjamin replied. Perhaps over the coming 2 or 3 months. That gives you space to adjust to the concept, and we can set aside funds for the upfront costs. 2 or 3 months. The deadline they allotted for my structured banishment. You realize what? I told them, a peculiar grin creeping across my face. I believe you're onto something. I feel I require a drastic shift in my circumstances. The quartet eased up noticeably, convinced I'd embrace their scheme. I'm relieved you're viewing it that way, Mom, Isaac said. It'll benefit us all. Absolutely, I replied. It'll benefit us all. They devoted the following hour to discussing the finer points of the assisted living option among themselves, their career agendas, the getaways they had lined up for the upcoming month. I merely observed wordlessly as they debated my destiny. Diana pulled up images on her device for Mela from the birthday bash, that festivity deemed more vital than my survival. See, here's the dessert I had made. Gorgeous, right? Ran $300, but every dollar counted. $300 on a dessert, a fourth of my monthly provisions outlay. And check this out, the outfit Benjamin gifted me, she added, scrolling to the next shot. Pure perfection. It's high-end couture. Set me back $1,200, but my spouse insists I earned it. She merited it. She warranted a $1,200 ensemble, yet I didn't merit their presence as I teetered on the brink. By 4 p.m., they started the standard exit routines. Mela glanced at her timepiece for the third occasion in 5 minutes. Diana let out an over-the-top yawn. Benjamin plainly scanned his screen. All right, Mom, Isaac announced, rising. We should head out. We've got an evening meal with Mela's folks, and punctuality matters. Supper with Mela's family. Naturally, they were eager to depart. No worries, my loves. Head off without a care. Each planted a hasty, obligatory peck on my brow. Diana even dabbed at her mouth post-kiss, like my touch had smeared something distasteful. We'll touch base this week, Benjamin vowed from the threshold. And we'll dig into more assisted living options, Mela tacked on. Stay well, Mom-in-law, Diana said with her fabricated beam, and fret not over a thing. We'll handle it all. They departed, trailing Diana's lavish fragrance and the ring of their hollow assurances. I ended up solitary. I sat there in the room, gazing toward the doorway my kids had vanished through moments earlier. Soon enough, Linda would arrive to assist with the concluding stage of my scheme. Within hours, I'd board a bus bound for Dallas. Come morning, the bed in this place would sit vacant, and my children would discover the note destined to upend their world entirely. For the first moment since that cardiac episode, a real smile crossed my face. Not one born of joy, but of release. It belonged to a woman who'd at last concluded her existence mattered more than the sentimental ease of thankless offspring. Fiona entered then for the evening rounds. "How are you holding up post-visit, Mrs. Stone?" Liberated, Fiona. After decades, I sense utter independence. Independent. From what, exactly? From the delusion that I hold value for anybody besides me. Right on schedule at 6 p.m. Linda showed up, dependable as ever. In her grasp was a compact bag stuffed with outfits from my flat, plus the $8,000 in bills. Set for your fresh beginning, darling. Beyond set, Linda. This instant has loomed for years, unbeknownst to me. As 7 o'clock struck and the hospital halls grew quieter with the evening crew easing into their laid-back rhythm, Linda and I launched the strategy set to transform my existence for good. Odd to experience such a rush of excitement at 66, like a young girl fleeing the nest, rather than a senior seizing command of her fate. "Certain about this move, Cecilia?" Linda queried once more while aiding me into the attire she'd fetched from home. "After we exit, reversal won't be an option. Linda, for 40 years I've pressed forward without retreat. Since choosing my kids over my own needs, return has eluded me. Now, after so long, I advance toward opportunity, not escape. I slipped into the emerald gown purchased last year, untouched till then because Mela deemed the shade unflattering. Now it fit just right, symbolizing renewed optimism, a clean slate. Precisely as planned, Fiona appeared. Her duty wrapped at 8, and she'd consented to aid in the trickiest segment, exiting sans any logged exit. Mrs. Stone, prepared for the leap. My sibling awaits in the lot with every form requiring your mark, more ready than for any prior chapter. From the bedside table's compartment, I retrieved the missive and set it atop the cushion, prominently displayed. A plain white sheath bore my offspring's names in my careful script. It appeared harmless, unassuming, yet those 4 sheets would shatter the secure bubble they'd crafted by overlooking me. "Linda, don't forget, hold off till tomorrow evening for delivery. That grants me hours to reach Dallas and nestle somewhat before the uproar erupts. Got it spot on, dear. At 5 p.m. sharp next day, I'll head to Isaac's and hand over the note. Should they probe your whereabouts, I'll relay precisely your words. I haven't a clue." We strolled the facility's passages like routine guests departing past hours. Fiona's timing proved clever. Sufficient bustle to blend in, yet sparse enough that no one scrutinized an elder with modest luggage. Outside in the lot, Sarah, Fiona's kin, greeted us. A mid-40s figure with a grave yet warm demeanor, she offered a firm handshake. "Mrs. Stone, Sarah Miller, legal counsel here. Fiona outlined your circumstances. Rest assured of my total backing. Your choice demands true bravery. Appreciate it, Ms. Miller. Papers all set. Right here. This authorization entrusts Mrs. Johnson with total oversight of your assets and matters hereabouts. She'll manage sales, terminations, any fallout. Plus, this affidavit affirms your sound mind and deliberate intent, fully grasping repercussions. Beneath the dim parking glow, I affixed my signatures, each one distancing me from the past and drawing me nearer to autonomy. Suppose my kids challenge these to claim I'm unfit. Unfeasible, Sarah assured with poise. Witnesses abound. Medical records confirm your clear-headedness. Proof abounds this stems from deliberation, not whim. Moreover, as a mature individual, you possess unchallenged rights to dictate your residence and lifestyle. Linda escorted me to the station. Our cab trip passed wordlessly, both immersed in private musings. Upon reaching Ibo, I purchased a ticket for the overnight bus heading to Dallas, leaving at 10 p.m. The journey would last 12 hours. The staff member at the station informed me, "It'll get there tomorrow morning at 10 Siaut." "Ideal," I replied. "By the moment my kids get that letter, I'll be 400 miles distant, embarking on a fresh chapter." "Cecilia," Linda remarked while we sat in the lounge area, "I just want you to understand how much I admire you. Not many women in your position possess the bravery to begin anew." "This isn't beginning from nothing, Linda. It's building on 66 years of wisdom, with $8,000 tucked in my bag, and the firm belief that I merit more than mere scraps of regard." As the announcement came for my departure, we embraced tightly, like the close friends we'd grown into over decades of companionship. "Look after yourself, my friend, and reach out the instant you settle in, so I can be sure you're okay. I'll check in with you weekly, Linda. You're my sole true kin now, the one individual who's genuinely demonstrated that my happiness counts." I boarded the coach carrying my compact luggage and a heart brimming with a sensation I hadn't known for ages. It wasn't pure joy, but a profounder feeling. It was reclaimed self-respect. I settled into my window seat, and as the vehicle departed from the town I'd called home my entire life, I pulled out my cell to dispatch a final note to my sons. En route to the depot, I'd resolved to share a brief message, not detailing my motives, since the note covered that, but to make clear this farewell was irreversible. "Isaac and Benjamin, when you see this, I'll be a long way off. Check the letter by my bedside at the hospital. It lays it all out. Don't try to track me down. This choice is set in stone. Pursue fulfillment in your hectic routines and evident choices. I'll find mine apart from you, Cecilia." I hit send and powered down the device right away. No interest in scanning their frantic responses, their bids for sympathy, their 11th hour pleas. They'd squandered a lifetime proving their affection, opting instead to prove the contrary. The coach pressed forward through the darkened highway, carrying me mile by mile from the existence of unappreciated efforts toward emerging opportunities. Out the glass, I watched the glows of little communities flicker past, homes likely where fellow parents shared meals with appreciative offspring, where kin parted with sincere embraces and honored vows. Around 2 a.m., as fellow travelers dozed, I lay alert, pondering what I'd abandoned and what lay ahead. No sorrow gripped me, no remorse. Instead, a spark I hadn't sensed in ages: optimism. Over the line, my relative Hope had described Dallas as a lovely place brimming with green spaces and bazaars boasting ideal climate and welcoming folks. "You can reinvent yourself here, Cecilia. No one knows your past, so craft a different tale." Crafting a fresh narrative. That concept appealed to me. For the first time as an adult, I'd claimed the lead role in my narrative, rather than lingering as a side figure in my boy's world. The ride persisted, guiding me to liberation. I pulled into Dallas at 10 a.m. on Monday, spot on as planned. The sunlight beamed with a vibrancy absent from my recent memory, as though the skies themselves toasted my fresh start. Hope stood ready at the station, her grin evoking my mom, her aunt, who often noted that real relations stem not from shared lineage, but from divided sorrows and delights. "Cecilia, such delight to have you here," she exclaimed, enveloping me in an affection my sons hadn't offered in years. "You seem worn from the travel, yet your gaze holds a shift, like you shed an immense weight en route." "Spot on, kin." I dropped 40 years of load in a medical center 400 miles back. On the drive to her place, Hope shared insights on Dallas living: the affordable stalls for crisp produce, the green areas where peers like us convene daily for workouts and chats, senior dance sessions, gigs for seasoned folks. "Folks here won't fault you for rebooting at 66, Cecilia." The town overflows with tales of renewal. Her residents matched her words. Spacious, sunlit, with a rear yard scented by roses, jasmine, and citrus blooms. My quarters featured a garden view and a bed draped in crisp linens infused with lavender. Make this your base as long as required, relative, and should you choose permanence, it'd be my privilege. That initial afternoon, as Hope whipped up a comforting dish evoking my youth, the anticipated ring came through. Linda. Cecilia, I dropped off the note. Reactions unfolded just as you pictured. Spill the details, Linda. I must hear their responses. I reached Isaac's HI arrived at their home right at 5 p.m., just like we'd planned. The family was enjoying a calm meal together. As soon as I mentioned the note from you, Mela just rolled her eyes and muttered, "It's likely one of her over-the-top stories since we skipped seeing her for a couple of days." I let out a sharp, pained chuckle. They even dismissed my letters as exaggerations. But then Isaac began scanning the words, and his expression shifted dramatically. Cecilia. His complexion drained to white. He read it out loud, and the whole room went utterly still. Once he wrapped up, Diana let out a shriek. "This can't possibly be true. Mothers don't just walk away from their kids." Benjamin immediately started frantically punching in your number, and when they pressed me about your whereabouts, I stuck to your instructions precisely. I claimed ignorance, that you'd simply handed me the envelope to pass along without revealing your destination. Isaac exploded in anger, shouting that there was no way I could be clueless about everything. He pointed out our close bond, yet I held my ground. What was their reaction after you departed? Utterly shattered, Cecilia, though it wasn't mere sorrow etched on their features. It was sheer terror. The dread of grasping that they'd forfeited something irreplaceable, all due to their own shortcomings. That evening, stretched out on my fresh mattress in my unfamiliar town, with jasmine fragrance drifting in from outside, my cell buzzed endlessly with ignored calls and texts from the kids. I ignored them all but pored over everyone. "Mom, pick up, please. Let's discuss this." Isaac. "Cecilia, this is absurd. Mothers don't vanish like that." Mila. "Mom, I get that you're hurt, but this is way too drastic. Return home and we'll sort it out." Benjamin. "Mother-in-law, I believe you're blowing it out of proportion. We care about you. Our schedules are just packed." Diana. The notes kept pouring in over several days, growing ever more frantic, more supplicating, more conscious of the enormity of their loss. "Mom, I checked the hospital and saw your spot vacant. The physician mentioned you checked out without clearance. This risks your well-being, Isaac." "Please, Mom, just confirm you're safe. We're truly anxious." Benjamin. "Cecilia, we've reflected a lot and you nailed so many points. We can make adjustments. Return. We beg you, Mela." Yet apologies and shifts came far too late. Remorse was pointless now. They'd squandered 40 years to evolve, to cherish me, to demonstrate that my existence held worth. I refused to offer another opportunity. 3 weeks into settling in Dallas, I'd carved out a daily rhythm that brought a serenity I hadn't felt in ages. I'd rise at dawn for strolls in the nearby green space, alongside a circle of peers my age who'd embraced me like an old companion. I'd landed a flexible gig at a city center shop, helping out with customers who prized my insights and flair. Evenings found me in art sessions at the community hub, something I'd longed for forever but always postponed, too occupied with devoting myself to ungrateful offspring. "You appear a decade more youthful, Cecilia," Hope remarked one evening while we brushed colors onto canvas amid the blooms. "It's amazing how liberation transforms a lady." She hit the mark. I sensed a renewal, like those 66 years of devotion had merely paved the way for this fresh chapter, where I could at last embrace my true self. A month on, during a dance session, I crossed paths with Mr. Harrison. He was a 70-year-old widower, pensioned off, featuring gentle gazes and an effortless chuckle. No sparks flew romantically, but it warmed me to share time with a gentleman who regarded me with esteem and regard, who treasured our chats and my company. "Cecilia," he shared one evening post-waltz, "I have no idea what drew you to Dallas, but whatever it was, it must have been positive. Your presence has surely brightened things for everyone around." The influx from my children had tapered off, evolving from urgent pleas to irate outbursts, then to acceptance, the final one, from a week back. Mom, if this is truly your desire, we honor it. We only wish to hear you're safe and content. Since your departure, we've come to see so much truth in your words. We yearn for your forgiveness one day, Isaac. Pardon them. Perhaps in time, but erasure was impossible. And returning to the role of a parent scraping for scraps of regard. Absolutely not. Half a year after touching down in Dallas, sipping brew amid the greenery under clear skies, I pondered the treasures unearthed through severing ties with my family. I'd reclaimed honor, inner worth, true bonds, fresh adventures, and the chance to spend my remaining days on my terms, free from others' demands. My device chimed. It was Linda's routine check-in. "How's life treating you, sweetie? You sound more joyful by the week." "I've never been better, Linda. Just yesterday, I signed up for a lit class at the college. Picture this. At 66, diving into books I adored but shelved while nurturing kids who took me for granted. It thrills me to catch you this upbeat, Cecilia. And what of them? Have you caught wind of anything from them? I spot their occasional updates on social media now and then. They keep up with their hectic routines, their fancy gatherings, their pressing obligations. The real shift is that I no longer need to fake any interest. That evening, while jotting thoughts in the journal I'd recently begun, I pondered the boldest choice I'd ever made. It wasn't simple at all. There were times of isolation, instances when I longed for the fantasy of a caring family. Yet those spells were fading, giving way to a profound sense of fulfillment from truly embracing my own existence. In the journal, I penned, "Today marks my 67th birthday. It's the initial celebration without anticipating a call from my kids or resenting their apathy. Hope put together a cozy get-together with our park buddies, and after so many years, I truly sensed being cherished and appreciated. This is the existence I merit. This is how life ought to have unfolded for me all along." I shut the journal and gazed through the window at the garden bathed in moonlight. The next day promised yet another chapter in my fresh start, another stretch of liberty, another chance to just embody Cecilia, not the forsaken parent, not the devoted martyr, but a whole person charting her path independently. And after 4 decades, that felt utterly sufficient. If my tale resonated with you, consider showing support with a super thanks. It helps me craft more narratives like this one. Many thanks ahead of time. Now, what would you do if you were in her position? I genuinely appreciate your insights, so share them below in the comments. I'm eager to hear your perspectives. Also, tell me where you first came across this story. For additional inspiring life tales, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Plenty more await you, warm embraces, and catch you soon.